Okay.
Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we're doing a live stream. Is Originality dead in TV shows and films? Comment down below your opinions and let's discuss. Also, like and subscribe and share the video.
So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. We're doing another edition of our live stream. Those that are watching on delay, still feel free to watch and comment your thoughts. We will respond. So what brought up this discussion, Jacob? Why did you want to talk about Is Originality dead?
It's just been something that I've been noticing. We haven't got anything cool lately since, like, I guess Oppenheimer is the exception, but that is a true story. So we either get sequels, reboots, different things. So there hasn't been anything amazing lately.
Yeah, we're definitely in that age of that where it's, things are getting redone. And that's always been the case. They have redone movies in the past. Something like The Star is Born has been done several times now. But we're getting them sooner. The talks of Harry Potter getting redone again. Like, all these things are getting done sooner rather than later. And it's like, what's the deal? Are writers running out of original ideas, or are studios not wanting to? Well, that probably is the case. They probably don't want to pay their writers. We've seen the writers' strikes and what's going on. Or are they just going with a formula that this equals success, so let's just do that again?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? What do you reckon some of the factors are that's contributing to this lack of originality?
I think writers haven't got any brand new ideas because there's so many writing styles that you can do, and it's hard to come up with new ideas. So instead of coming up with a new idea, it's better to go with the trend, and people are scared of coming up with new ideas. So it's trends problem, and yeah.
I reckon I agree, but I don't think it's the writers. I reckon there's a lot of creative people out there coming up with new ideas, but it's the producers and the studios that don't want to take the risk. Like, there's billions of people on this planet that come up with new ideas, and I reckon there's people coming up with them, but they go to a studio and a studio goes, "Oh, I don't want to take the risk. This is a bit different. We don't want it to flop. Let's just make, let's just do Batman again," and they're just doing the same thing. I reckon it's probably on that. There's creative people out there in this world. Like, we do see creative films come out, but they don't seem to have success. I think because as well, people are conditioned to go, well, I can go see the reboot of this movie and I can go see the sequel to that, or I can go see this new really weird Wes Anderson film. So they follow what's been successful before. So I think we're the problem too.
Yeah.
But I know you watch a lot of films, you give everything a try. So I'm not saying you're the problem or I exactly, but I think in general, people they go with what they know.
That's a fair point.
So what do you reckon one of the most original films you've seen lately would be?
Probably Oppenheimer, and when I watched Insomnia, that was pretty original.
And I guess even with that, like, Oppenheimer is a telling of a true story. So even that they haven't even risked it with a brand new story. They've gone, we'll go with facts. I think a film that I've seen recently that's quite original and most people have seen is Barbie. Obviously, Barbie already had the IP there. People knew who it was, which helped its success, which is probably why it got made. If Barbie wasn't a thing and someone suggested the concept of Barbie, it would have got thrown away. They was like, this is dumb. We're not going to do this. But because Barbie's already famous, it helped. But the movie itself was like no other. Is a new story. They've a studio doing something a bit original. No Hard Feelings would probably be another movie I can think of that's, again, it's hard to be completely original. What are you going to invent a new language? Like, everything you do has been done before in some way, but just doing it a bit differently makes it a bit original. I think that's a movie that did it.
Yeah.
What's some movies you can think of recently that have just been unoriginal? It's just the same, or even shows. They're just the same repeat thing again and again.
Unfortunately, the MCU shows are kind of running out of new ideas, and for shows, probably the Marvel shows as well.
Yeah, I think Marvel's definitely up there with repeating the process. It's hard to be originals with superheroes. Like, we already know, like, 90% of superheroes are orphans, and it's just the same concept, so it's hard to bring something new. But when they do and they chuck something a bit different in there, it works. I think it's something like Loki. I think the concept of the opening up the multiverse was really different. Now we've got 10 films that are about it. It's a bit different. But when it first came about, you go, oh, this is a bit different. It's not the same thing. It's not some alien coming down from space that wants to take over the world. It's something a bit different. But yeah, originality is definitely dying off.
Yes, it is.
If they were to bring out, like more artsy, more out there things, because they're definitely being made. These films are happening. They're just not getting the publicity that, the same repeat, things get. Would you go see them? Or are you part of it as well? You go, oh, I don't want to risk seeing, I don't want to pay my money to go watch this film that could be a flop, or do I go see something where I know what I'm going to get?
I would give it a go.
The general public probably don't, which makes it hard. So for a studio, given the millions it takes to make a show, it's very hard to, or a movie, to take a risk on something that may or may not be a flop. Because in the past couple of years, is there any films you can think of that, were unique but ended up flopping?
That ended up flopping.
Tenet's one that comes to mind for me.
Yes.
I didn't hate it, but it was so unique to the point that it, it's kind of confusing,
Yes.
And so that's the problem. If you go and try and be unique, do people go, I don't get it. Just give me the same thing again. So it's hard to, we had that fine line of being unique and the risk of being so unique that people don't like it, or do you repeat the same process? And then even that is Tenet, just kind of another, it's kind of like, what's the Leonardo DiCaprio film where they have the spinning top at the end?
Inception.
Yeah, like I know they're not the same, but is it kind of just that roughly same concept again? Again, is Tenet itself not an original idea? Because you think, what are some franchises that come to mind that have, rebooted itself or, redo the same process but tend to just keep being popular?
Batman, James Bond, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Wars. Yeah,
you could say like Mission Impossible, kind of, like up to 11 films or something now.
Or 7. The 8th one's coming out next year.
Yeah, and it's like, are they all just the same thing in a way? And it's like they go, well, people flock to see it. So is that the reason, like a chicken or the egg, what came first? Is originality not existing because people don't want original content, or is original content not like, or are we not getting original content because there's not any out there, or are we not getting original content because people don't really want it? It's a hard one. What about shows? Movies are probably the easiest ones. I feel like shows are very, very repeated. What are some shows you can think of at the moment that are basically the same thing? Like it's just something we've seen before, rebranded, and we're going, oh well, they expect us to like this.
Rebranded. I would probably have to say
what about some sitcoms? Sitcoms are the first thing that come to mind to me that I think are just rebranding of the same thing.
Yeah, how quite a lot of them.
Like you could say, is Friends and How I Met Your Mother just the same show, new characters, different setting? Replace a coffee shop with a bar. This is the same thing, and we're just seeing the same formula. And both, very good shows, but do studios just go, this is what people like, let's give the people what they want? So we're here going, we want something new, but are we the minority? What other thoughts do you have on this topic?
Well, I feel like the show named The Changeling on Apple, I've only watched the first episode, but for me, that's original. I'm really hooked. I'm gripped. The first episode, I have no idea what's going on. It's kind of changed the formula for me. Normally, by the first episode, I have understanding with what's going on with the plot, but this show changes the formula. I have no idea. Are these people mentally insane? Is there weird stuff going on? Like, I liked the first episode quite a lot. That when I get a moment, I'm gonna watch episodes 2 and 3. And for me, the Changeling changes the mold of originality, because for me, I have no idea what's going on, and I like that. What for some people, it's like, oh, this show's boring. It's too confusing. I don't like it. Well, I'm the opposite.
When I think of horror films, I reckon that's one genre that, yes, slasher films are very repetitive, but outside the slasher genre, I think there's a lot of original ideas. People getting like hauntings, or getting creatures taking a hold of them, witchcraft. They've lots of really out there unique ideas, and I guess in the realm of horror, you can really go there. Where if you think about a drama, what can happen in a drama? Really, it's like love interest, death of a loved one, a relative, people cheating. Like there's not lots to go. But when you start to open it up to horror, it's like anything can happen. Someone's the toaster gets haunted, and then it starts killing people, or like Chucky, like a doll come to life. Like there's such a wide spectrum, because it's not realistic, but in that trying to be realistic, it's hard to come up with ideas that haven't been done before. Thinking about that, in South Park, they many seasons ago make a joke about everything they try and do. The Simpsons have already done it, and they make a whole an episode about it, that they're like, you can't be original. Simpsons already did that. The Simpsons already did that, and it's that idea that someone has already done everything that you come up with. So why even bother? What about shows that repeat the formula from season to season, and then kind of ruins it? I think of a show we've talked about heaps, and that is
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai, that's a good example. So we'll talk about Cobra Kai, and then we'll go to the other one I was thinking of. What do you think? Like, what does Cobra Kai do that you think is just a repeat of the same formula?
Oh, always the tournament arc. The two main characters always bickering and can't get along. There's always the villain that they have to ultimately fight. Loyalties change. It's just the same formula. It was excellent for 3 seasons, and then it just got predictable, and it's kind of a ruined show now because it's gone for too long. It overstayed its welcome, and it got predictable. Cobra Kai.
Yeah, it's a prime example of something being, yes, it's a spin-off, so people will go, well, that's not original. But the concept of creating a spin-off was original, and what the whole idea that Johnny Lawrence has had tough times since what happened to him in Karate Kid. That's an original concept. But as you're right, they repeated the process of the movies, and you go, oh, it's kind of funny, it's kind of cool, they've kind of copied what the movies, and then they do it for season 2, and you go, oh, I've done it again. And then season 3, and you're like, how many times are they going to do this same thing?
Season 4 is
they swap dojos. People that if they just talk to each other, they'd be friends, but no, they hate each other, won't talk to each other, won't resolve their issues, and then something happens, and they're like, oh, they're going to be friends again, and then another thing happens right at the end, and like, oh, enemies again. Let's start the season again with them being enemies. It's just a repeat process. The show I was going to bring up was Apple TV show with Octavia Spencer in it.
Truth
Be Told. So
season 1 was good.
Yeah, original idea. What did they do in season 2? They copied they just repeated the process basically. And you go, that's not original anymore. Yes, you had success with the first time, but if you don't change it up, especially a murder mystery show, you got to be original. Otherwise, it's like, this needs originality.
One of Us's line comes to mind.
Yep, that show, first season, really cool. Second season is like, it wasn't a repeat of the process, but it was the same kind of concept. And you go, we wanted something a bit different.
Mm.
The other thing is shows what they'll do is they'll purposely up the ante of what they did in the first season.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, that's their way of trying to be original, but you just go too far. So truth be told, first season, quite a cool idea that someone wanted to make people pay and make them feel bad for the things they've done. He's going to not fake. Well, he wasn't trying to die. He was trying to make them feel bad and have an allergic reaction in front of them. Things go wrong. Someone sinister plans this whole thing. He dies. That's quite cool. And then the next season, like way over the top, someone's watching them, can control all these things. Like, well, that's up the ante. That's like, that doesn't make sense. It's like, there was a killer on the loose and they were using knives. And then the next season they got superpowers. You're like, well, why? You've just gone over the top so much. And yeah, truth be told, that's like the second season they had to try and, they keep trying to recreate this formula of something that's pretty unrealistic.
Mm.
You can buy it once that a podcaster solves a murder. You go, that could happen once, not several seasons where they're like, we could call the cops or we could ask someone that does a podcast to solve this murder. You're like, that it could happen once and once only, not twice or three times. So yeah, that's a show that repeats the formula.
After Party comes to mind. I just finished season
Great
2,
example.
and even though I love season 2, I just don't buy that. There's other After Party, and someone else gets killed. It's very, very far fetched, and if you think about it, you go, okay. In season 1, it makes sense because she was a police officer, but in season 2, she's not even a police officer anymore. And it's like they need each other to solve the crimes. It's like, if they do with season 3, it just becomes to the point when it's just not realistic. And they end it at a point where there could be other After Party when you go, first time, it's like you buy it. Second time, it's like, or third time's the charm. It's like, no, unrealistic.
Well, yeah, is that the problem that when an original idea does exist,
Yeah.
they then repeat it and then it no longer is original. Because if the After Party was one season, I think it's perfect. I think it's a really cool thing what they did. But you do it a second time.
Money making.
Yeah, you do it a second time, and you're like, one, that wouldn't happen. 2, we kind of know the formula, and again, murder mysteries, it doesn't work. You can't. Fair enough with like a teen drama, heartbreak, that sort of stuff. That's going to be repeated. Someone being caught up at a party where someone dies and everyone has to stay around and they've got to interview them and work it out. That doesn't happen twice. Like that just doesn't happen twice. So you not only is it you've tried to get us with the same formula again, you've also it's not something that would happen. So I won't be watching season 2 of the After Party. I don't think. I watched the first episode and I think I'll give it a miss from there. Where. Well, like, what do you like? I guess it comes back to that idea. We both really like limited series because generally they are original. Like a limited series, they go, we're going to in this short period of time tell a story. So most of the time they can be a bit more experimental. Where if you go, well, we're going to make a show and we want it to be 10 seasons long, you're going to try and find a formula of success, which might be repeating the process, copying what other shows have done. Or a limited series, you're like, we're going to put it out there into the world, and that's it. It just finishes as it is.
Blackbird is a good example when they see us.
It's funny though when you think of some of the things recently that we really like that are quote original. Most of them are true stories.
Yeah.
So does that make this idea that truth is better than fiction? There's no story better than a true story. So sometimes the answer is maybe stop trying to think of new things, find stories that already exist and tell them to people.
That's true.
Blackbird, great example. When They See Us, again, true story, really, really good. Oppenheimer. It's obviously thinking of Margot Robbie because I said Barbie a few times. I, Tonya. Again, true story about Tonya Harding. Sometimes true stories are, that's cool. Maybe that's what, instead of trying to repeat the process and come up with something original, find something that's already happened.
I will say, for the genre of superhero shows, The Boys has done a formula that is original and unique. It takes the script a different way when the superheroes are actually the bad guys. And for me, I actually prefer watching The Boys to Marvel and DC. For me, on the originality factor, The Boys is a lot better than Marvel and DC.
Yeah, that's a great example, because it's original because it's done the opposite. It's almost satire, which is kind of cool, which is nice to see something original. I thought of something just before of original, or something that was a bit different. They took a risk. It will come to me. So originality, it's dead. Any other shows or movies you've seen where you think, I know I was going to say, a movie we've recently seen, I'll get you to talk on it, that was original, and so that's the thing. You go original, you risk making it being a flop. I think of 63. Is that the name of the film with Adam Driver?
Oh, 65.
65. Like, that concept is wildly original, but they missed the mark. So you go, if we be original, do you run risking missing the mark? But after seeing that movie, what were your thoughts? Like,
I like the concept of it, but unfortunately, I think it would have worked a lot more if we get rid of the female character and we just had Adam Driver fight the dinosaurs, kind of have it be like a horror-esque movie with the dinosaurs being the things or the creature that he had to get towards to, get to his objective, instead of it being a rescue mission. He has to do stuff like that. I think it should be a horror with dinosaurs.
And I think about that movie. Yes, it wasn't the best. Yes, there's things you could have changed about it, but it was original, and I'm glad I got to see something different. Because not every movie you're going to watch 10 times. Most movies you probably do only watch once. Majority of movies you see in your lifetime will only get seen once. So at least you can walk out of that and go, I got to see something different. Was it the best movie I've ever seen? No, but was it something different? It's like, sometimes going to a restaurant and trying a new dish, even if if I get the Old Faithful, I'm going to like it. You go, at least I've tried that now. Sometimes maybe that's the thing. Maybe people need to be more open and just not be so critical. But movies are a business, aren't they? Not many people went to see that Adam Driver film, and well, I don't think it was ever going to get a sequel, but the studio will go, that was a loss. We lost money on this, or we didn't make what we hoped. Let's not do that again. So maybe people have to be more open to original concepts.
Where do you think we're going to get that from? Movies or TV shows?
I think movies have more opportunity because they're usually smaller. Like, it might be a 2-hour movie and it could be a one-off. They're very similar to a limited series. You can take a bit more risk because you put it out there and you go, we're only making one of these. We don't have to end on a cliffhanger. We don't have to build characters. We don't have to, do something in season 1 that we're going to link back to in season 10. You just write, this is the problem. This is what happened. And that's it. It gets resolved or it doesn't. That's the end of the story. So I think movies have more option for originality. Because, there's a lot of shows that are repeats of each other. I think of compare Breaking Bad with the Ozarks. Pretty similar.
Yes.
Like that concept now. So would anyone dare to try and repeat that process again now? You basically set yourself up for, you either set yourself up for success. You either go, people clearly like this type of show, or you go, I'm going to bring this out and everyone's going to compare me to the Ozarks and they're going to compare me to Breaking Bad, and I'm going to look crap. Like, I'm going to have to make a masterpiece if I'm going to be seen good in comparison to those. So I guess originality gets scared off as well because of that. Anything coming out that's caught your eye that you think's original?
The creator that is a sci-fi movie that is dealing with human beings and robots. Kind of that looks interesting.
Okay, I don't know if I've seen the trailer for that. I can't really think of anything that I know of that's coming out that looks original, like films that came out recently for us. We've got Ninja Turtles. Obviously, it's another reboot of the franchise. Blue Beetle, like, it seems like the same kind of story you get all the time with superheroes. I don't think there's going to be anything too unique and original in that. It's just real lack of originality, and it's only going to get worse. I think I've seen recently all the reports of shows and movies that are being delayed due to the writers' strike. So there's not even people writing new things. So not only is there lack of originality, there's lack of even anything being written. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the same.
Severance was very unique, that show.
Yes, I haven't finished season 1. I have enjoyed it. It was just, the time I started watching it, and it's a bit slow. So you've got to be in the mood to watch it. But from what I've seen, that is 100% a unique concept.
Ben Stiller's a masterpiece for coming up with that show.
And again, that falls into that kind of sci-fi
thriller, would do this
thriller concept. Where I think maybe that's where originality lies. It's hard to be original. If I said to you, write an original sport movie, what is the plot going to be? The team scores the touchdown the last minute. They make the basket. It's how can you be original like that? That is a genre that. And then even if you do the reverse, like you think a movie like The Champions, they miss the final shot, they lose, and everyone's like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. We're happy. Good, great movie. Absolutely great. But it's like, even if you do the opposite, that's not original anymore. Someone's done that. Sport is like, I don't know, there's just genres you can't be original. The hero gets injured, comes back, the team wins. The team tries their hardest, they lose. It's like there's only 2 scenarios with that. Romantic comedy. Like what original can happen? They end up together in the end, or they realize that they're just better off being friends. It's been done thousands of times. There's no originality. You say to me, well, again, sci-fi has a lot of room to be original, but again, it's usually the same concept of time travel, people coming from other planets. It's like it's kind of repeatable. I say to you, make a horror film. There's infinite options with horror. Like anything can happen, and it's just meant to be that way. So that's where I think originality lies. Any final things you want to talk about regarding this concept, or any ideas you've got?
I guess hopefully originality doesn't die, but I feel like it's heading in that direction. I hope shows like Severance, The Changeling, and different things help it up. And I feel like we're heading towards more of a true story aspect. I feel like a movie like Air, Oppenheimer, that's the direction. I feel like we're in there's always trends with movies and things, and I feel like true story, we're heading towards that, era of filmmaking, true stories. That's where we're heading towards now.
Yeah, and that suits what's going on. If people, I don't think people are struggling to come up with original ideas, but if they were and no good new ideas were coming out, well, why don't you look at things that have already happened and bring them to the big screen? And you've got kind of a winning formula. It's proven that works. So maybe that's the thing. Plus, it's semi-educational along the way too. So it's the opposite of what we're saying, that originality is dead, but maybe that's the only way. Because how many times can you go see the same storyline over and over and go, someone came up with this? They've literally watched this movie and gone, well, I'm just going to change this character's name and I'm going to change. You're like, that's not original. But at least with a true story, you can go, I know it's not original, but it's a story I've never heard. There are a million stories about, sporting teams,
The Last Dance.
Yeah, like just different things that people have actually done, and there's nothing better than that. Watching it, like I think of Winning Time, such a good show, but it's because the fact it's like this actually happened. There's no question of was this realistic? That wouldn't happen. I don't buy it. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you think. It happened. So maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah. Well, as always, hit the notification bell, comment down your thoughts about this topic. Be very curious to know. And as always, you're awesome. Keep being awesome and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.